Hi viewers, welcome to Meghla Nurses Academy. This academy is established to enhance the knowledge of student nurses and professional nurses. This YouTube channel will be helpful to prepare for all kind of competitive examinations like MRB, RRB, MOH, NIMANS and etc. Now we are going to discuss MCQs on Medical Surgical Nursing Part 3 from Central Nervous System. First question. Tumors of the Schwann cells of the 8th cranial nerve is known as. Schwann cells are the main glial cells of the peripheral nervous system which wrap around axons of the motor and sensory neurons to form the myelin sheath. Option A. Ependymoma. It is a primary central nervous system tumor. This begins in the brain or spinal cord. And option B. Oligodendroglioma. It is a tumor that can occur in the brain or spinal cord. Oligodendroglioma form from oligodendrocytes. And option C. Astrocytoma. It is a type of cancer that can occur in the brain or spinal cord. It begins in the cells called astrocytes that support nerve cells. And option D. Acoustic neuroma. These are non-cancerous tumors that affect hearing and balance when they press on the nerve in the inner ear. The terms acoustic neuroma and vestibular schwannoma mean the same thing. So the right answer is option D, acoustic neuroma. Tumors of the Schwann cells of the 8th cranial nerve is known as option D, acoustic neuroma. Second question. Main clinical manifestations of diabetes insipidus developed after transpenoidal hypopysectomy are. Diabetes insipidus means a disorder of salt and water metabolism marked by intense thirst and heavy urination. Transpenoidal hypopysectomy means the pituitary gland is taken out through the nose via the sphenoid sinus. Option A. Headache and vomiting. Option B. Polydipsia and polyuria. Polydipsia means excessive thirst and polyuria means excessive urination. And option C is polydipsia and polyphagia. Polyphagia means excessive eating. And option D is loss of consciousness. So right answer is option B, polydipsia and polyuria, because excessive thirst and excessive urination are the main clinical manifestations of diabetes insipidus developed after transpenoidal hypopysectomy. So the right answer is option B, polydipsia and polyuria. Main clinical manifestations of diabetes insipidus developed after transpenoidal hypopysectomy are option B, polydipsia and polyuria. Third question. Leading cause of subarachnoid hemorrhage. Option A, traumatic brain injury. It is also called as craniocerebral trauma. It is the main cause of subarachnoid hemorrhage. And option B, intracranial aneurysm. It is otherwise called as brain aneurysm. And option C, arteriovenous malformation, an abnormal connection between arteries and veins, usually in the brain or spine, otherwise called as AVM. And option D is anticoagulant therapy. It's the most widely used treatment for venous thromboembolism. So the right answer is option A, traumatic brain injury. Leading cause of subarachnoid hemorrhage is option A, traumatic brain injury. Fourth question. Classical manifestations of meningitis are option A, memory loss and headache. Option B, lack of coordination and memory loss. Option C, knuckle rigidity, Kerning sign and Brudzinski sign. Knuckle rigidity means stiff neck and Kerning sign means severe stiffness of the hamstrings, cause an inability to strengthen the leg when the hip is flexed to 90 degree. And Brudzinski sign is a severe neck stiffness, cause a patient hip and knees to flex when the neck is flexed. These three are classical manifestations of meningitis. And option D is none of the above. So the right answer is option C, knuckle rigidity, Kerning sign and Brudzinski sign. Classical manifestations of meningitis are option C, knuckle rigidity, Kerning sign and Brudzinski sign. Fifth question. The more potent antibiotic used to treat meningitis is option A, cephalosporin. Option B, aminoglycosides. Option C, penicillin. Option D, fluoroquinolones. The right answer is option A, cephalosporin, because third generation cephalosporin are recommended for the treatment of meningitis because cephalosporin is a more potent antibiotic to treat the meningitis. So the right answer is option A, cephalosporin. The more potent antibiotic used to treat meningitis is option A, cephalosporin. Sixth question. The most common CNS fungal infection is option A, Taenia pedis. It is otherwise called as athlete's foot. And option B, Taenia capitis. It is a disease caused by superficial fungal infection of the skin of the scalp, eyebrows and eyelashes with a propensity of attacking hair shaft and follicles. And option C is mucormycosis. It is a type of the fungal infection formerly known as zygomycosis. And option D is cryptococcosis. It is an infection of the central nervous system with the yeast-like fungus Cryptococcus neoformans. So the right answer is option D, cryptococcosis, because cryptococcosis is the most common fungal infection and the second most common opportunistic infection of the central nervous system. So the right answer is option D, cryptococcosis. The most common CNS fungal infection is option D, cryptococcosis. Seventh question. Visual loss in the same half of the visual field of each seen in stroke patient is known as option A, Horner syndrome. It is otherwise called as oculosympathetic palsy. A disturbed nerve pathway on one side from the brain to the face and eye. And option B, homonymous hemianopsia. Homonymous hemianopsia is a condition in which a person sees only one side, right or left, of the visual world of each eye. The person may not be aware that the vision loss is happening in both eyes, not just one. And option C is agnosia, that is a loss of ability to identify objects or people. And option D is diplopia, it is also called as double vision. So the right answer is option B, homonymous hemianopsia. Visual loss in the same half of the visual field of each seen in stroke patient is known as option B, homonymous hemianopsia. Eighth question. Which clinical indicator does the nurse identify when assessing a client with hemiplegia? Option A, paralysis of both lower extremities. Option B, paralysis of one side of the body. Option C, paralysis of both upper extremities. Option D, paralysis of both upper and lower extremities. The right answer is option B, paralysis of one side of the body, because hemiplegia means muscle weakness or partial paralysis on one side of the body that can occur the arms, legs and facial muscles. So the right answer is option B, paralysis of one side of the body. Which clinical indicator does the nurse identify when assessing a client with hemiplegia? Option B, paralysis of one side of the body. Ninth question. Which health problem does the nurse identify from an older client's history that increases the client's risk factor of a brain attack? Option A, glaucoma, that is increased intraocular pressure. Option B, hypothyroidism, that is abnormally low activity of the thyroid gland. And option C, continuous nervousness. And option D, transient ischemic attack. It is also called as TIA and mini stroke. Transient ischemic attack is a brief stroke that, despite resolving within minutes to hours, still requires immediate medical attention to distinguish from an actual stroke. So the right answer is option D, transient ischemic attack, because a transient ischemic attack may be a warning sign of the future stroke. So the right answer is option D, transient ischemic attack. Which health problem does the nurse identify from an older client's history that increases the client's risk factor of a brain attack? Option D, transient ischemic attack. 10th question. What therapeutic effect does the nurse expect to identify when dexamethasone is administered to a client after a brain attack? Option A, improved renal blood flow. Option B, reduced intracranial pressure. Option C, maintenance of circulatory volume. And option D, prevention of development of thrombi. The right answer is option B, reduced intracranial pressure. Because corticosteroid drugs have been widely used for many years to treat patients with brain injury or brain attack because they are thought to reduce intracranial pressure. Some examples of corticosteroids are dexamethasone and methylprednisolone. So the right answer is option B, reduced intracranial pressure. What therapeutic effect does the nurse expect to identify when dexamethasone is administered to a client after a brain attack? Option B, reduced intracranial pressure. Thank you viewers. Thanks for watching this video. Viewers, please subscribe Meghla Nurses Academy to receive the daily updates from this channel. Click the bell icon to receive the notification. Thank you.